So here we are with the reference section of this project. So here I'm using PureRef. PureRef is just an incredibly useful program. It's essentially an infinite canvas. You can take things, you can take your references and you can zoom in on them as much as you need. As you don't lose any resolution, you can easily move them around, resize them, rescale them, and they'll never lose their resolution. So I use this on all the projects I do, all the professional work I do, and personal work. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the different sections here. So for instance, we're doing a stilt city. So the categories I found that were really important were buildings on water. So fishing buildings, so looking at modern fishing buildings and like trying to see how they would look. These like more modular looking ones were really cool. These bottom floors were open on these. I loved looking at these ones here because you could actually see how, like today, they're being built. They're just kind of being supported by these scaffolds and these wooden stilt piers. So this was like a really big reference for me, these images here. Seeing how like shoddy and shanty they can feel. And so I gathered as many images as possible. These are in different countries, in Japan, China, Thailand, like Cambodia. Spending a lot of time getting this stuff is really, really important. I even would be gathering, and like look at the personality of some of the stuff. I'd even be gathering references as I'm working on these images too. You don't need to gather it all at the beginning. Keep gathering as you keep working. I gather as much as I can at the beginning. It just makes it easier that way. So other categories are just Japanese architecture. Since we're making a Japanese stilt city, then we want it to feel like it's kind of traditional Japan, but with the twist that the buildings are stilted. So this stuff was just great reference to look at. And then I break it down even more. I think about roofs, so different types of roofs for detailing, even construction methods, like how do they put this stuff together. It's really, really interesting. And it kind of like will help you build it. Since I'm going to be building this in 3D, this kind of stuff will just help me build it a lot easier. It's also just really interesting to look at. And then we're going to be moving into like boats and props, like fishing boats, because I built out a boat similar to this and one maybe similar to this. Like a small boat and a large boat is how I'll think about it. There's also these guys who do these really cool fishing things with these birds. So the light will kind of, I think, attract fish, and then the birds will dive under the water, and they're on these strings to gather fish for these guys. And then also, I'm getting reference from video games too. So Ghost of Tsushima was an amazing thing of reference for me. I got a ton of reference. So like this kind of boat was really important. Stuff like this, I loved getting that. And obviously props. This stuff is really important. So I also have like piers in this category too. I ended up building these, which you'll see later. So I kind of did a combination of these two. These are large enough to have people walking in them, which is really cool. As you can see on this one, the kind of this kind of wide the wide circular area will allow you to pull up these large, heavy blocks. And different props, looking at Ghost of Tsushima, you can go finding a lot of reference for this stuff because this is just great stuff. So even like art inspiration. So of course I'm looking at Ghost of Tsushima, Romain Jandot, Mitch Morehauser do just such amazing work. So their mood, the way they handle light and shadow, and how simple certain things can be, was really big part of this image. Like this kind of gray, like kind of grayish color palette that's slightly blue and it's more like at night, and you have the light sources. I just love this stuff so much. And again, PureRef is so great because I can just zoom in as much as I want. So that's kind of why I use PureRef. PureRef is incredible. There's also, and just to go with a little bit more inspiration, so I knew I was going to have these buildings that are on the water. So there's this city in China, and they have it's just so interesting how it looks. There's a lot of stone for this city, but there's also the mix of wood elements. So I actually got a lot of inspiration from this city and how it's done. I love the mood on this shot especially too. I love it. Looking at how like buildings can be populated on mountainsides, so it's really interesting how much they can go on there. And I end up like using this as inspiration for how I do my villages on the mountains, and then also sea rocks. So I loved this kind of stuff. This is kind of like the vibe I try to get, these kind of rocks with grass and greenery growing on them was definitely the direction that I really wanted to go for. I felt like the scale was great, and I just loved the look out of it. Also, you'll find stuff like this. These are like famous rocks here in Japan. Just really, really interesting stuff. Even mood images. I love the mood on some of this stuff. It doesn't always have to be from a single source, but a lot of this is from Ghost of Tsushima and other concept art. And then other art inspiration too, that I got some of this stuff early on, like how like taking a house and like these guys are kind of like pushing it in fun ways. Just searching maybe a medieval fishing village and seeing how they might organize it, looking at really cool concept art from other people, and kind of you can kind of just take pieces from here and there, or just get inspiration from this stuff. Like how Fidian does this stuff. It's so good. From the Hobbit movie, Desolation of Smaug, their fishing village was really, really cool. Even like looking at Riot Games stuff, their Bilgewater like fishing town is just incredible. How they like stack. It's like more of a pirate themed, but it's just so full of life and so full of like really interesting details, and it's very, very stylized. So I want to keep mine more realistic, but this is just still amazing inspiration. So yeah, this is really great stuff. Even like I was thinking, I remember the God of War trailer for Ragnarok had some really cool stuff. So I was looking at it and trying to think like, what kind of props do they have? How do they set dress like their dock and pier? So I was just like looking at this for inspiration. And I'm like literally going to YouTube and taking screenshots. So you can like look at how much they set dress. This stuff is crazy. They're just phenomenal. Yeah, so this is kind of just the reference section. If you're doing a project like this, I highly recommend using PureRef. I highly recommend being organized with your stuff, and you can kind of look at PureRef documentation for how to make this stuff. It's kind of simple. If you need to make like text, you do Control N, and you can have text. You can move it, Control and Alt, and then while holding it down, left click will make it bigger and smaller. And then just double clicking an image will full screen it. You just use the zoom to move in and out, and then you can kind of click and drag stuff. So I can click and drag, move it, do all this stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I'll see you guys in the next section.